Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new here, and welcome to part 3 of Feed the Pig. Long story short, part 1 and 2 are down below in the description. Please stop this video if you don't like graphic content or very violent situations or listening to people talk about suicide. Without further ado, if you haven't had to stop this video and go back to part 1 and 2 and watch that, let's get into part 3. Footsteps drew closer, and then a woman walked into the room. She stopped at the doorway and looked at me. One of her eyes was missing, a dark, cavernous hole in her skull. Her hair was ratty and wild, a brown tangle like a forgotten nest. Her skin was pale and filthy, and she was dressed in rags. I couldn't tell how old she was, but there was maturity in her one good eye. "Still thinking?" she asked, her voice coarse and brittle. "What?" She took a step closer. "Are you still deciding whether you're going to feed the pig or not?" I looked at her cautiously. "Yeah, I am. Who are you? What do you want?" "I was once where you are now," she said, trying to decide my fate. I couldn't believe that this was what happened after we die. It wasn't what I was taught. Religion didn't warn me about this place. I tested my bindings again before asking. "You killed yourself too? You're a person like me? You're not one of those creations?" She snorted. "Breaks my heart you have to ask, though." She touched the hole where her eye should have been. "Though I can understand your caution. Yeah, I'm a suicidal. I've been here a long, long time, but that was my choice. I decided to chance it here." I motioned with my head towards the door. "What's out there? What is all this?" She exhaled heavily and leaned against the wall. "I can't even begin to describe this place. It's like nothing you've ever seen. You walk down that hallway and go out into it, and..." She swallowed. "You'd have to see it to understand." "How bad is it? Why are all these mutated people hurting and killing each other?" I asked. She let her head loll back against the wall. "It would take years for you to fully understand this place. Years you don't have. Right now, you have to make a decision. Stay or feed the pig. They tell me hell is worse than here, but it can't be by much. Monsters and suicidals roam the Black Farm, killing, raping, brutalizing, and then you wake up and wonder how long you can survive before something else kills you. It's an endless cycle." "So why did you stay?" I pressed. "Why didn't you feed the pig? I don't even know what that means, but I would do anything for a chance to go back. I can't stay here. I just can't." She smiled at me sadly. "Why? Why did I choose this? It's simple, really. I'm a coward. I was a coward when I was alive, and I'm a coward in death. When it came down to it, when the moment presented itself, I chose to stay here. I didn't know what awaited me outside. It boiled down to a simple choice fueled by my own fear." "What is the pig? What does it do to you?" I pressed. She suddenly turned to go. "I'm afraid that's for you to find out. But let me warn you. Think hard before you make a decision. Sometimes suffering through your fear is better than suffering for an eternity. Be brave." "What do I do?" I yelled, shaking in my chair as she walked out the door. She paused, took one last look over her shoulder. Her eyes darted around, and she dropped her voice to a whisper. "Feed the pig." And she was gone. I sat in silence once again. My mind was spinning, desperately turning over my options. I still couldn't fully understand the situation I was in. It was too much, too overwhelming. The other side of death wasn't supposed to be like this. I didn't know what I had expected, but it wasn't this nightmare. Questions crashed over my mind like cold waves onto a sinking ship. How was I supposed to make a choice when I didn't even know what my actions entailed? This place, the Black Farm, I couldn't stay here. But what if I went to hell? What if I didn't get sent back? I would be out of the fire and into the frying pan. My existence would be forever damned to unending misery. Here, though, there were people like me. Suicidals. It wasn't all monsters and mutilated murderers. Maybe I could hole up somewhere with them, try to scrape together a passable existence. Surely that would be better than getting sent to hell. No, this was not how I was going to spend my eternity. I refused to let it be. If there was even the slightest sliver of hope, I would take it. I didn't want to wonder what could have been. I didn't want to be tormented by doubt. I would feed the pig and accept whatever fate chose for me. When I boiled it down, that was the only option left. I would feed the pig. Hey, hello, Danny, I yelled, rattling in my chair. I've made my decision, Danny. After a couple seconds, I heard footsteps echo down the hall towards me. Danny walked through the doorway, an annoyed look on his face. I've made my choice, I said. I'm going to feed the pig. Sounds like you really thought about it a lot since I left you, Danny said sarcastically. I licked my lips. You'd do the same thing if you were in my place. Danny walked behind me. I was in your place once, and I chose differently. My eyes widened, and then Danny wrapped my entire head with a strip of thin cloth, blinding me. I sucked in as much air as I could, but each lungful felt empty. I felt Danny cut me free from the chair, and my body sighed as my stiff muscles were released. I rolled my shoulders as my hands were released, and I moaned with relief. I dug my fingers into my back, and I stretched, my bones cracking. Keep your blindfold on and follow me, Danny said, pulling me up. My legs shook as I put weight on them, my thighs trembling after their long cemented position. I groped blindly in front of me and found Danny's shoulder. I rested my hand on it as he walked us out of the room. As we entered the hallway, I could suddenly hear a sound I hadn't before. The clank of metal. A long, fleshy tearing noise, something vomiting. Those sounds sprang to life in my ears, painting the darkness before my eyes with imaginary scenes of horror. I gripped Danny's shoulder tighter, stumbling behind him, my heart thundering. I heard something trailing behind us, but Danny didn't seem to notice, or if he did, he didn't care. Flesh slapped the concrete mere inches behind me, and I suddenly felt hot breath on my neck and the click of a wet tongue against gums. My breathing became even more labored as fear choked me. Going to feed the piggy, are ye? Something whispered in my ear. I felt something press against the back of my head, and I tried not to think about what it might be. It was wet and slimy, and I heard the thing chuckle. "He's a hungry piggy. You make sure he gets his meal now," the thing whispered again, its voice low and unlike anything I had ever heard before. It was like a series of grunts and moans jumbled together to form broken words. To my relief, I heard the thing retreat back to wherever it had come from, and I continued to follow Danny. He remained silent as we walked, and I could feel shifts in the air. The thick heat gave way to a cooler, almost pleasant temperature, but then it kept decreasing, and soon I was shivering violently against the cold. I couldn't see anything, but I felt a breeze on my face, like we were outside. I didn't hear Danny open any doors, but nothing about this place was natural. It was like a reality blurred and bled into itself, like reels of film melting together. Teeth chattering, I was suddenly blasted with intense heat, and I gasped. My feet tripped over themselves as the terrain changed, and I was suddenly walking on what felt like warm iron. My ears were filled with the sound of blazing furnaces, the clash of working machinery. I couldn't see it, but I felt like there was a vast open expanse overhead. I smelled ash and tasted dirt on my tongue, sweat already forming along my spine. Suddenly, I crashed into Danny as he came to a halt. I backed up a few paces, quickly, and muttered my apologies. I could hear movement in front of us, a rustle of chains and an odd clicking sound on the metal floor. Something else, too. Something snorting. And then the room filled with a deafening sound of an immense pig squealing. I covered my ears, head splitting at the high-pitched wail. I grit my teeth as the noise echoed off the metal and faded into a series of snorts and grunts. It sounded absolutely enormous. I'm going to stop there for the end of part 3 before we get into part 4. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what happens and hear what happens to our friend during this story now that he has made his decision to feed the pig. If you haven't, please comment where you think the story is going below. Again, don't leave any spoilers. Please hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications. I do upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next video.